We live in a Twilight world. So this is the Eden Project, and I filmed this back in 2020, during the scamdemic lockdowns, which we'll talk a bit more about later on. So the Eden Project is in Cornwall, which is the southwest of England, although there's a lot of people in Cornwall that don't consider themselves English and they want independence from England, so they're probably not too happy about me saying it's in the southwest of England. But nevertheless, anyway, that's a different topic for a different day, yeah? So the Eden Project is a tourist attraction, and the main theme is the relationship between humans and nature, which I'm fully on board with, yeah? I support that. I have more of a pagan sort of outlook on life. I believe that we should be living at one with nature. And I believe that everything else, money, the government, the internet, materialism, consumerism, production, this is all illusion. Yeah? Illusion warfare, all of it. It doesn't need to exist. It does exist because we believe in it, but we are only believing in it because we're being deceived into believing that it needs to exist. And although it's being sold to us as for our benefit and evolution and all of this kind of crap, really it's not. It's all illusion weaponized against us. But anyway, this is the Eden Project. Now, like I said, it was filmed in 2020, yeah? So this is during the pandemic, scamdemic, lockdowns. Now, as you all know, I openly say, and I'll say it right here, I loved the lockdowns. I would love another lockdown. You have to remember there was never ever a deadly virus. There was only the illusion of a deadly virus. And anyone with a brain or anyone with the eyes to see clocked onto this straight away from the beginning. So there was nothing really to fear, yeah? Nothing to fear at all. All it was, like with everything in our reality, illusion warfare, which is theatricality, deception, smoke and mirrors, getting the masses to live action role play the very theatre that they are creating. Thus, it kind of becomes real because people are live action role playing the fiction. And that's the only thing that manifests it into reality, yeah? But this is a prime example. I mean, look at this beautiful structure here. The Eden Project is very impressive from an engineering point of view. But yeah, man, look at this situation here. Because of the lockdowns, I had this whole facility, this whole tourist attraction to myself. Yeah, there were no NPCs, no background characters, no projections. So that's why I loved the lockdowns. It was a very freeing time. Without the NPCs, background characters, projections, Westworld robots getting in the way, you can just pretty much teleport across this matrix as and when you wish. Yeah, so I'm witnessing all of this beauty without any of the problems you get when there's hundreds of NPCs walking around. Like the way I'm just standing here filming this waterfall, I wouldn't be able to do this if this was peak times with just background characters and Westworld robots just running around. Yeah? Now, while we're on the topic of the lockdown and that very strange and peculiar time, you know, if we do want to get a bit weird, a bit crazy, a bit wild with our speculation, we could say that the simulation people are right. The people that believe we're living in a simulation are right. And that they weren't, it's not that the NPCs were at home just sitting there scared of a deadly virus, just scrolling on their phones, is that they actually vanished. They were actually switched off, as if the program that is in charge, you know, if we think of this as a matrix, and there's a specific program that is in charge of projecting these NPCs out into the matrix onto the map, that was switched off temporarily, and therefore we had no NPCs, walking around. Yeah? Because think about it, you never went inside, kicked down a door and went inside your neighbour's house to check whether they were actually indoors, sitting there scared of a deadly virus, scrolling on their phones. You just assumed that's where they were. But like I said, if we want to get weird and wacky with our speculation, they could have just simply vanished. Like boom, someone flicked a switch and the 99% of humans that are just not really real just turned off. And that the scamdemic was the excuse for their disappearance. Perhaps for whatever reason, just like a computer needs to be repaired every now and again, like maintenance works needs to be carried out, think of it the other way around. They had to switch off all of the NPCs. They had to turn off all of the background character projections, and that the deadly virus pandemic lockdowns was the cover story. Yeah? I mean, it's just a theory. We can't really prove it. And it's so many years ago. It happened so long ago now that it's going to be hard to sort of ever prove it, right? But you get what I'm saying. That's just a potential theory, yeah? So that's why I have good memories, fond memories of the lockdowns. I'm essentially walking around a hollowed out film set and all of the actors are no longer here. And I've got this hollowed out film set all to myself. No problems, no stress. And it's just very freeing, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know if it's just because I'm a bit of a lone ranger in my personality and the way I am. But it's so... Going to this place when it's empty is a wonderful thing. Like looking at this hanging sculpture here with just the silence and nothing but the sound of the exotic birds and the waterfalls. Even though they're artificial, even though everything about this place is artificial, it's just nicer when you're experiencing it without the background noise and without the background characters. Like I said, it might just be me. I don't know. But if this, say, was like regular normal times or rush hour, I probably wouldn't be enjoying myself. You'd probably be queuing for everything. Like I wouldn't be able to just walk across this rope bridge like I did with no hassle. You'd probably have to queue up for it. There'd probably be people trying to walk past you in the opposite direction. You know the kind of shit you got to deal with when you got to deal with people. It's just a nightmare, isn't it? You'd either be stuck in a queue, like waiting in a line, or you'd be waiting in line, but you'd be getting moved along like a conveyor belt. You wouldn't have the time to move at your own pace with your own free will, to stop where you want to stop, move when you want to move. You would be getting shuffled along like a conveyor belt. And like I said, although I'm in an artificial place with an artificial atmosphere and artificial waterfalls like we're looking at here, that's fine. It's the artificial way that we would have got moved around if there were loads of background characters here. But yeah, man, look, I mean, this it is a very impressive structure like we're looking at here at the roof. The Eden Project. This domed glass structure. I know I keep saying glass. It's not glass. It's some sort of high-end plastic that's like weighs 1/10 of the glass and I think is flexible. And that obviously, this dome structure, this is how it creates the artificial but correct atmosphere you would need for this indoor rainforest. This imagery right here is quite interesting, isn't it? It's like Anunnaki imagery. It's like an alien is impregnating a human right there. And this looks like a plant. A plant is impregnating a human or having sex with a human or something along those lines. This imagery here is obviously very sort of ayahuasca, Amazon rainforest, plant medicine, stuff, isn't it? Like these hands with the eyes on. This is the sort of stuff that people claim they see when they take ayahuasca when they go to the Amazon rainforest, yeah? I've never done ayahuasca, and I probably never will. I do remember there was sort of an agenda, wasn't there? I would say back in 2017, where just you couldn't go online without someone talking about ayahuasca and how humans need to go to the rainforest and do ayahuasca to make the world better. I don't think that Europeans need to do that. In Europe, we've got magic mushrooms, haven't we? We've got our own version of ayahuasca. Yeah, again, that's a different topic for a different day. So, yeah, man, the Eden Project is, at this moment in time, the largest indoor rainforest in the world. And like I said, I just can't get over how impressive this structure is from an engineering point of view. You know, I did used to work in construction. So when I see things like this, you know, it does kind of impress me for sure. What was I saying? Yeah, so at this moment in time, it's the largest indoor rainforest in the world. I do know they are building Eden projects elsewhere. Like there's one being built in the north of England. I think Morecambe Bay. There's one being built in Scotland. I think there's one being built in Ontario in Canada. And possibly Saudi Arabia. Don't quote me on that. You'd have to go and double check, yeah. But talking of places around the world, this is good for people that look at my content that are from Canada, the USA, Australia, New Zealand, India, and just the continents of Africa and Asia, you know. People that are never going to go to the UK, let alone go to Cornwall, let alone go to the Eden Project. This is a good little walk around video, isn't it? And this was filmed on the little action camera I bought in preparation for me fulfilling the dream I had in my head of being an illusion warfare correspondent. Yeah, so I know I've told this story many times before, so I'll try and make it as short as possible. In 2019, I ended up back in construction. The construction industry. So I'd left construction because I was so sick of it. This is an impressive structure, isn't it? And you can see there outside, that's just regular Cornwall, which is forestry and whatnot. And this is an interesting guy right here with his hands open, like some sort of priest with his pointy hat on, casting a spell over the land or something. Quite an interesting structure, that, isn't it? He's got the Ku Klux Klan hat on, and he's got spikes coming out of his whatever kind of clothing he's wearing, and he's in the shape of a 5-pointed star. And this looks like a grey alien, or has the same sort of dimensions as a grey alien. So, you know, there is a lot of weird imagery, symbology in the Eden Project. And there's some more coming up. And I don't know if the Eden Project is trying to tell us something. But yeah. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So yeah, man, I ended up back in construction work, which I left. So the fact I was in construction work, I was just generally quite miserable, right? And I quit construction. And luckily, within a month, the scamdemic happened. So it kind of worked out perfectly, right? But whilst I was working this shitty construction work, which I didn't want to be in, I was sitting there thinking like, what do I want to do? What's my dream sort of job or way to make money, or not even a way to make money? What's something I want to do that's going to bring some excitement into my life? And the answer was war photography. I don't want to be in a war. I don't want to ever partake in a war because war is illusion. But I do want to document it. And also I have a background in being in war zones, and I know that how they present a war zone is illusion because it is all exaggerated, sensationalism, fiction, propaganda, smoke, mirrors, deception, theatricality, all that kind of stuff. So the point I'm trying to say is that I bought an action camera because I knew I was going to go and do it and be an illusion warfare correspondent, which I eventually did do. Yeah? You know, Ukraine and so on. But this here was my first time using the action camera I bought. I was testing out how to use an action camera, and that's what I'm doing filming with this, right? I generally have a rule, I don't film if there's people, so this was ideal because there was no one there. Apart from a few staff members walking around. Oh, by the way, look at this here. We've got a bull with horns in the middle, and people are dancing around him. Also wearing like horns on their head. Now, a lot of the truther types would say that this is Baal, B-A-A-L, that this is satanic. They would say that this is Moloch, Moloch, the deity that they sacrifice children to. Perhaps, maybe. I think just generally, back in the day, when we were more at one with nature, we would celebrate the bull and the cow because they gave us so much life, isn't it? They gave us milk, and then eventually we would eat them. The cow and the bull are sacred animals, right? Because they are, they do give us a lot in regards to keeping us alive. Like I said, milk, and eventually we kill them and eat them. Anyway, so here we're on the outside of the Eden Project. And we got this digital screen here with people walking. It's only flashing because of my frame rate on this action camera. To a naked eye, it's not flashing like that. So anyway, what was I was talking about, why I'm filming. This is me practicing on an action camera. Working out how to use it. Because this little action camera cost me about 62 quid. It was secondhand. It was all I could afford. And the thing about this little action camera, which I believe is called the Sony AS HR50, it doesn't have any sort of display screen. So you can't actually see what you're filming, which is fine because it's a wide action camera. So as long as you're generally filming where you want to film, it doesn't really matter. It's only till you take the micro SD card out and put it in an iPad or a laptop, you can see what you filmed. But I'm sure we can agree this is pretty amazing footage considering it's such a cheap action camera. And like I said, this is the action camera that I eventually took to Ukraine. And a lot of the footage you see in Ukraine is filmed on this action camera here, which I'm practicing using at the Eden Project. So we're now on the outside of the Eden Project, and that's what it looks like from the outside. And you can see, now we're on the outside, you can see that the dome structure is not glass, it's a sort of plastic. I think it's called EEFP plastic. And it's extremely light. But obviously durable, right? It's got to take, it's got to take a lot of punishment from the sunshine and then the rain and then the winter and so on. Anyway, like I was saying, this is pretty amazing footage considering it's such a cheap action camera. I think it does a very good job for the price range that it is. At this moment in time, it's struggling. At the top there, you can see it's struggling a little bit with the sunshine. But the main thing that's in front of us here, this little pond, I think this is a part of the Japanese garden. That's clear as day, right? What it tends to be is cameras that are really good in the daytime tend not to be very good at nighttime. And yeah, man, when you're directly facing the sun like I just was, it's the sensor inside that does all of the work, yeah? I'm not doing anything. I'm literally, you press a button at the top to record, press it again to stop recording. I just move the camera around and point it where I want to point it. So that's why I'm a big fan of action cameras, because they do all of the work and the technology is built to stabilize the image. But I'm going to wrap this video up now. I think I've been talking enough bollocks for now. It's a good 20 minutes of bullshit I was just talking there. So yeah, the Eden Project. This was the Eden Project in 2020 during the lockdowns. It's like a hollowed out film set. I'm walking around on my own. It was a wonderful time. The lockdowns were a wonderful time. Who knows what was really going on? I mean, if I had to pick a theory for the lockdowns, it was what I call the big push. And the big push was to get people to spend more time online. So it was mostly the people who had fake jobs that don't need to exist, meaningless made-up employment, which is about anywhere from 70 to 90% of the population. So instead of them going to their fake jobs, you now get them to sit at home and scroll online all day long, looking at the internet, where these images are going into their head, yeah? Television. But I do consider the theory, like we spoke about in the beginning, that all of the background protections were just merely turned off for routine maintenance of the program that is in control of the NPCs if this were a video game. And here is a horse made out of driftwood. We live in a twilight world. There are no friends at dusk.